All right, guys, in this video, we're going to start dissecting the parts at a much deeper level. So in the overview, we talked about eighth note click versus quarter note click and the thesis behind the verse and chorus one. So again, verse one and chorus one, I should say for drummers, it would be verse two and chorus two actually in the song. We're going to be going to a straight 16th note groove, and it's accented. So you may have noticed in the groove it just wasn't like back and forth, right? It's actually got a little bit of a sound, a rhythm, or a melody, even if you will. It goes like this. Right, and with that you can kind of feel right? So always kind of, one thing that can be really helpful for drummers is to think of our instruments as melodic instruments and not just rhythmic instruments. So thinking of that, like if you can sing your groove while you're playing in your mind, then that'll help you kind of hear the song within your drum part. So let's go to verse one. Remember, it's 4 on the floor on the kick, which sounds like this. 4 on the floor, that term comes from 4 quarter notes to every measure, and the kick is hitting every quarter note. Then our hands are going to be at 16th notes on the snare, and kind of some of the accents are going to be between rack tom and floor tom. So here we go. From the top of verse 1, I'm going to play it just a little bit slower, just to kind of dissect the parts. Here we go. That would be no toms. This is with toms. Right? So that's kind of the part broken down, kind of slowed down a little bit. You can do this on toms as well if you want to. Like maybe snare's a little bit too abrasive in your church because, you know, it like reflects high frequencies off the ceiling or whatever else. Some of the more vaulted ceiling churches in older buildings can really give a drummer a fit, and the sound comes right out of the drum cage, right? So here you go. The point is, the song of the drummer is dun, 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 right? Keep that groove going all throughout verse 2 to chorus 2. And then you can kind of just keep your hands rolling around the drums anytime you need to put a fill in without actually breaking off your 16th note pattern, which makes it really easy to do a fill because your hands are always playing 16th notes. So let's go to the track, and this is about at tempo. I'm not playing to a click, so I'm not quite at 146, but check it out. I'm gonna do a fill. I'm always just keeping my hands 16th notes. Makes it so much easier. Now I want to break down the thesis of the build. Builds are very popular in worship music. It allows us to kind of ramp a song up after bringing it down, right? So here we go. We're going to talk about the first stage of a build. A drummer always needs to stage a build because if you're at maximum volume and maximum syncopation, then there's no place to take it, right? So you'll always kind of dial it back first and start either with quarters or eighth notes. In this song, and At the Cross, what we try to do is start with 4 on the floor kick. So we're keeping our 4 on the floor pattern going, hitting on every quarter note, and then we're going to start with eighth notes on the snare and floor tom. So this is stage 1. It's going to have a fill, which kind of like, I'm going to pop a cymbal and a snare at the same time. And what that's going to do is kind of like wake everybody up. Like, hey, we're getting exciting. That's kind of like a little announcement in the middle of the song. So we're doing a groove. This is the second chorus. Here's the pop. Right, so I'm just going cha, 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 cha. Right? And my kick is just 4 on the floor. That's stage 1, okay? Stage 2, the only thing that's going to change is that we're going to go to eighth notes on the kick so that kick, floor tom, and snare are all hitting at the same time. So you're going to be... Kick is eighth note, snare, and floor, right? But again, if you're in a church that has vaulted ceilings and sounds coming out of the drum cage and too much high ends popping around the room, you can go like this. And just save your snare for the high-end announcement that the build is ramping up. So one interpretation would be like this. That just gives you like the high end of snare and cymbal. Wake up, church, get ready to raise your hands because we're going to the bridge, right? It's about to get crazy. That's kind of the way that drummers can help tell the whole band to elevate together. So we go from a quarter note kick and eighth note hands to eighth note kick and eighth note hands. And then finally, the third stage of the build is the final stage in this song. We're gonna go to 16th notes on kick, cymbal, and snare. So that high-end excitement off that cymbal, high-end excitement off the snare, that's just gonna like ramp the whole thing up. So stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. I'm just gonna play them for you. Here's stage 1. Again, it's just an announcement, like, rah, yeah, 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 and everybody's like, whoa, here we go, right? And it just, hey, baby, the plane's taking off. That's all that we're telling everybody. And then you're going to release into a groove, right? So builds are always super effective, and you'll hear this in Bethel tracks and Hillsong tracks and Tomlin tracks. It's very much a almost thesis of modern worship drumming, is to know how to stage a build to release your groove, okay? So in this case, we've done the 16th note, ramp, and now we've left a pause of a couple of quarter notes, and we're gonna bring in the groove, and the groove is basically this. Right? So that's, I'm just gonna do kick and snare so you can hear easier. Pattern. Final thing I want to teach you is how to keep your fills really simple. And the reason I like to do this is so that we don't confuse people in the band and in the church with overplaying. So I've kept to a couple of different fill styles in this track. The first fill style is based off of cymbals on downbeats, okay? So in that released groove, in the halfway points of the phrase, I'll do this. So this is how it works into the groove. It's just snare and cymbal on my right, cymbal on my left. That's side 2, right? So that is basically snare and cymbal, cymbal, and then that's it. Just real simple. And you could literally sing it to the track. Again, to think of your drums as a melodic instrument, is a really good thing. There's like a bunch of like fill cliches in the world of drumming, like Pat Boone, Debbie Boone. Pat Boone, Debbie Boone. Or that's called a Pat Boone, Debbie Boone fill if you're ever in a drum session. But this one is just right? So. That's really the thesis behind the grooves, the build, the released groove at the end, and some of the fills that I use to go from transition from section to section. So hope you enjoyed. We're going to put it all together in the final video that's just a playthrough. And yeah, hope you enjoyed.